All right. I'm trying to get myself together, everybody. All right. There we go. All right. How's everybody doing? Yeah, I was. Yeah. Tell you what, I got to working on the. Oh man, I got to working on the old background here and working with OBS and. Dadgum, if I didn't forget to. If I didn't forget that I had to add in a sound device. Let me turn that background down a little bit. And then I had another countdown timer. Boy, I got goofed up on that too. Here we are. Tell me what you think about the new background image I got going on there. It's, of course, generated and not a reality. And I'm not sure how that got up there. Let me go back to here. I don't know what happened there. I don't know where that came from. Oh, yeah, I do too. Oh, crap. I know exactly what I did. That should be middle class Bubba. Let me see if y'all get to watch me change my screen. All right. Send me a shout out. Get this old chat activated while I fumble around here. Y'all ought to be having a good time anyway. All right. Well, there we go. Anyway, welcome everybody. Here it is, another Thursday night in the Northeast Georgia mountains. And it is fabulous. I'm glad you're here with me. I am. Let me change this back one more time. Look at that. You didn't even know I transitioned. You can't even tell. Boy, I'm getting good at this. But let me know what you think about the background. I'll keep an eye on the chat, see if anybody pops in and wants to wants to talk to me. I got to get this microphone set right. It's a crazy thing, all this dadgum technology. I'd rather be using that overhead, but I ain't got it right yet, I don't think. Let me turn that overhead on and see if it makes any better sense. How about now? Does that still sound pretty good? I don't think it sounds as deep and rich as this one. I think this one sounds a lot deeper, a lot richer. But anyway, we'll play around with it. And here we are, the Rabun County Rag. It is the 8th day of January in the year of our Lord 2026. Welcome aboard. If you catch it now or you catch it in the replay, welcome. Glad to have you as a part of the show. We live in Rabun County, Georgia, and I call this the Rag. It's old ham radio where guys get together on the ham radio and they'd be talking from all over the world together, and they would call it chewing the rag. And so I just kind of robbed. I'll see how that goes. I just kind of robbed it and called it chewing the rag, or Rabun County rag, and right here in the mountains where they talk and we listen. A New Year's always brings that quiet moment, what was and what might be. The holidays are behind us now. The decorations are coming down, and Rabun County has slipped into winter's steady rhythm. Cold mornings make us move a little slower. The long evenings, boy, it's starting to get stay light a little longer. I think the sun's going down about 5:45 or something like that now. But the evenings are longer. During the summer, it stays daylight way past 9 o'clock and get a lot done. But the evenings invite reflection. And that's kind of what we're doing right here at the Rabun County Rag. We're doing our neighborly thing as I fool around with these darned old microphones and making all kinds of racket. We're just sitting here and having an opportunity to be with one another and chew the rag, so to say, and enjoy each other's company. And I really would like, I don't know if that's going to stay or not, boys and girls. I'd like to hear from you. So go ahead and tee up and leave me a chat. I'd like to hear from you. Let me know how the signal's getting out while I continue to goof off with this microphone. These microphones can be noisy, too, when you get to messing with them. One of these days I'll get it set up where I think it's fine and dandy, or somebody says, "Hold right there. Just stop, Scott." And then you tell me to stop, and then by golly, I'm going to stop. But the long evenings invite reflection. We can sit here, we can talk about all kinds of things. We can reflect on what has been, what might be. That's a good thing to do. I think it's a fine attribute. Things that we've learned from the past can certainly guide us into the things we do today. So, welcome, and let's get this party started. And the woods, I was out there today, and I'm driving through, and I can look down there and see scratches around trees and stuff. I just wonder, I need to walk down there. Big old place scratched out around a tree. Could be a bear digging grubs, or a deer trying to get a good batch of acorns up out of the ground, or it could be some mineral down there that some of the wildlife is after. I need to walk down there and look. But the woods, they're bare and honest. They don't hide much from anyone paying attention. But before we go any further, let's remind ourselves of who we are and why this space exists. We're a community of like-minded people with common interest in hunting, fishing, protecting our community, culture, families, and environment. We come here to exchange ideas, resources, and information. A new year doesn't have to erase the past. It opens doors. Let me try something different. There we go. I'm just trying out some new music, y'all. Ain't y'all excited you get to mess with me and see me mess around here on the learning how to do live stream? Y'all are so lucky. I appreciate you. Somebody give me a thumbs up or something. Let me know you're paying attention and watching. I guess I need to maybe have a section in here and maybe learn to create some type of a short segment where I can go back in and record it out and cut it out and create a short and post it into the Facebook groups or back onto YouTube and try and generate some interest. I'm starting to feel pretty comfortable with what I'm doing here. So that might be something I need to put into the script to put in a short in the script so I can cut it out. But anyway, new possibilities begin with attention, intention, and responsibility. So grab that cup, pull your chair a little closer, and let's step in this year together. Eyes open and boots on solid ground. All right, hunting and fishing. Boy, we're late in the season. What do we got? When does the deer season end? Is it in January 11th or February 11th? Dadgum, if I done lost track. I think it ends February 11th. Yeah, somebody correct me if they get that. Georgia Woods late season truth. According to long-standing Georgia DNR patterns and insights consistently reflected in the Georgia Outdoor News, late season success comes down to food, pressure, and patience. And the deer behavior right now is the core movement around remaining food. Boy, you know they're trying to find anything they can. They got what, another 30 to 60 days for new buds come out on anything. There's short travel windows. They're conserving their energy the best they can. With the increased daylight movement during the cold snaps. Wow, it is 6:15 already. Here are some productive locations for the deer if you're out there. How do y'all like my window? I'm out there looking out the window. Boy, ain't that nice. I tell you what. You just can't beat a good window view. Y'all let me know what you think about my comfortable space here. I'm real interested in knowing what people think. I wonder, anybody watching this thing? Come on, y'all. Talk to me. Doggone it. I need to make a splash. I'm getting antsy now. I've been giving this thing a long time, and I know people will cruise through and watch it. But anyway, here's some productive locations for that for hunting those deers. South-facing slopes. Boy, they get the sun early, and it warms them up. Thick cover near winter browse and transition zones between bedding and food. This is the thinking hunter's season. Not aggressive, intentional. Mid-January. So we're running up on the end of the season. I talked to Zach the other day, and he said, yeah, he got one fat doe, but he got it down south Georgia. The bear, that window is closing. I saw my little rabbit the other day. There used to be two around here. Now I'm just seeing one. Boy, I don't know if I told y'all or not, I was in the yard the other evening. And daggum squirrel let out the death knell. It thing was rattling and squealing. I looked around. I couldn't see nothing. It was getting after him. But anyway, rabbit and small game are still active. Trapping, active coyote, fox, bobcat, and beaver. Never really felt the appeal for any kind of trapping. I do make a lot of observations, and I've seen all those here and other places around the county. The coyote, fox, bobcat, and beaver. I've seen and the darn old river otters. Them things is crazy. them old crazy wet river otters. Y'all, let me know where you seen them at, and if you've gotten your eyes on some of that, or if you're a trapper. Boy, I'd sure like to hear about some of the stuff, and send me some pictures, man. I want to see what you've harvested. I'd like to share it with other people too. Anywho, there we go. If you got a better idea for a background, I'd like to hear it. If you think I could have a better background, man, let me know. I don't know, how's it doing? Is it looking goofy? I don't know. I guess it looks all right for make believe. My regular screen is right behind me. I just covered it up with old green blanket thing and did some fiddling around in this OBS. I kind of like it. I think it's cool. But anyway, here we are, man, up in the... Boy, it got warm the past few days. Got the door project done at the house here. 3 brand new sliding glass doors. And a storm door. I did receive a call the other day. I may be heading out to Amarillo, Texas for a little while. So, and, man, I tell you what, if I didn't really like them guys, I just don't know. Way out to Amarillo. Woo! I tell you, man, it's been a long time since I've been to Amarillo. I bet it's been 20 years since I've been to Amarillo. There's old truck stop up there we used to pull into and have a bite. If I make it out there, I'll have to go check it out and see how I think they had pretty good burgers back then. I guess we fixing to find out. Here's another thing. I thought about this. Y'all let me know, when I go out on the road like this, God almighty, I hate going out to eat. It for a couple reasons. The food, man, you don't know what they're... Have you ever thought about how many things a burger patty has been through before it gets to your plate or in the box or the bag from a fast food restaurant? How many hands and processes it's been through? How many times it's been... oh man, from the field to the feed lot. I don't know if y'all ever been in a feed lot or not. I've been in a few chicken houses. I don't eat much chicken anymore. But I tell you, it's very kind of, when I sit down to a meal out in the fast food restaurant, that's the kind of stuff that's going through my mind. Matter of fact, I've gotten to the point in my life I don't like to eat in a restaurant unless there's a clean white tablecloth on the thing. I was in a restaurant not long ago. I was with Dad, I think, and we was sitting there, and I always ask for extra napkins so I can put my silverware on a napkin and have a napkin on my on my lap to keep this old beard mopped down while I'm eating. And everybody thinks it's kind of weird, and we was at dinner, and I said, "Look over there, Pop," and there's an old bus boy over there. Yeah, that old pail throwing the dishes and stuff in it. And the rag was resting in the same pail, and I guess he was mopping down the tables. It had the leftover ice water, leftover tea and Coke in there, and that old thing was brown. He was mopping down the table, and I'm going, man, now you know why I want a napkin to put my silverware on. There ain't no telling what is on that table. Now, a lot of places, another person come by and sanitize and wipe it down, but I'm going, I don't know, man. Some folks is toting around stuff that dadgum ammonia and Ajax and bleach together won't kill. And anyway, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I tell you, do I need to adjust the color? I got two different screens here. I'm looking at one on an HDR or a high definition screen, and another one just on a regular uh, definition screen, and they look two different ways. The one that I look at the most is not very high definition. When I look at the other one, it looks a little darker. It looks like it's got a lot more detail. But anyway, give me some feedback through a chat. Anyway, where were we? Yeah, we were talking about the seasons out there. You know, this is a time to, this is a management season. Ethical harvest matter more than ever. Yeah, so make sure you take a good shot, man. Don't get that old buck fever and get shaking, and take your deep breath. Make sure you got the sweet spot before you pull that trigger. Always sight your rifle before you go hunting. You don't want to. And I did that years ago one time, and man, it upset me because took a shot I knew was probably too long, and went and found the blood trail, but never found the deer. And that deer probably died out there in the woods, and that was disrupting to my whole ethics there. And I've always made sure ever since then that if I'm going to take the life of something, I'm damn sure going to do it cleanly and as humanely as possible. And I hope that's your philosophy as well. Cold weather fishing tactics. Man, I ain't been out. Here I am. I have to go out of town next Friday. Dadgummit. Maybe I need to get out there tomorrow. I got to go to the bank. I got a bunch of stuff to do tomorrow. I tell you what, man. But the winter principles, you know, the fish are conserving energy, and deeper water holds temperature a little better, except in them old mountain streams. I don't know if there's any kind of warm water in that stuff. That's why them old trout get tougher. But the sunlight does trigger short feeding windows. And if you're there on the bank and the sunlight starts hitting on the water and it's near a seam, if you float that seam, you're going to get something. And the big fish a hole where that first sunlight is, because that means they get the best visibility of anything that may be in that seam. So take that advice to heart. And you got to fish deep too. And you're talking about fishing a nymph, float it downstream. If you got to cast upstream, let it float to you. Keep your line stripped real good. I normally fish perpendicular to the stream and then cast uphill. And then I've got a little Zebco I'll use, and I'll reel it in and keep the slack out. And then as it gets past me, I'll start hitting the release button on it and making sure it continues that drift. That works real good. And people say, "What, you fly fish?" Well, I said, "Well, yeah, I do, and I do it several different ways. You know, I've got some fly rods, some 3-weights. I think I got a 3-weight and a 5-weight. And then I got some ultralight spin with them old push button, old bait caster deals on them. T11's a real ultralight thing, and I think it's got 2 or 4 pound test on it. And I will put a nymph on the end of that thing and weight it, and then have a little bitty bobber, clear bobber on top, you know, with, you know, I'll get down to the bottom. What I think the bottom is, and I'll have that nymph so it's real close to the bottom, and that bobber holding it in the seam, and I'll cast into it, and I'll watch that bobber, that strike indicator. And when it moves, boy, you better set the hook, because they'll test that thing. If it doesn't taste palatable to them, it tastes like, if it don't taste buggy, it tastes metallic-y and furry. It don't take them but a split second to decide whether they're going to try and hold on to that or not. So that's some of the effective things that I've done. Small jigs with subtle colors and long pauses. If you see that thing just drift and it pauses, you better watch it. If that thing stops drifting, that means somebody's holding it back from that downstream drift. It's kind of tough. You know, us guys who fish up here in the mountains, uh, we know the truth. That winter fishing, that teaches patience better than success ever could. And that's an odd saying, but I guess it really makes sense. Winter fishing, boy, you got to have the patience, but the rewards are great. I've always caught very beautiful fish, very strong fish in the winter, and and I have a split emotion on that because you know how much energy they expend when they're fighting to free themselves, and how little food sources are in certain times of the winter. You wonder if they're going to make it through it or not. So it's a brutal thing sometimes to contemplate whether you're doing the right thing or not by catch and release in the dead of winter. But, you know, I ain't seen many dead fish floating in the river, so I'm assuming they're going to make it all right. Now, wintertime, it demands respect when you're outdoors, you know, for hunters, anglers, and hikers. Cold hands is equal to slow reaction time. I need to check my mail. Y'all hang on a minute. I got a phone call I'm expecting. I forgot to hook this old thing up. Uh-oh. What was that? Blocked by spam. Anyway, that's the way she's shaking out, boys and girls. You know, ever since I started recording these phone calls, you know, Habib or whoever it is calling me, I let them get going, and I'll hit the little record button on the phone here, this Galaxy phone I got, and boy, you want to talk about them getting stuttery and unsure of themselves. It don't take them long to conclude the phone call, and I'm hoping they put that in the database that whoever's this number, I hope they start blacklisting my number from their scam calls. They son of a guns, man. I can get them all. Now, Verizon's got this thing where they starting to screen more and more of them, and I'm grateful for that. Anybody see my coffee? Whew. Got up early this morning and edited down a couple videos and worked with some intros and outros on one of the channels, and that was kind of fun. And then I got bound up for time, was getting phone calls, had to go do stuff, and I didn't get to work on the other channels, intros and outros. I guess I'll do that next week, but that was pretty intensive this morning. I guess I got up I slept in a little bit this morning. 5 o'clock. Slept into about 5 and got up and found old roll of sausage in the refrigerator, and I cut it out into little patties and dropped it in the hot air fryer with I guess 4 jalapeno peppers and let them start to cooking. Got the cast iron out and took a couple pieces of that old keto bread. Yeah. And buttered it up and got that pan good warm and toasted that bread and then checked on the sausage and buttered that cast iron again and dropped in a couple jumbo size eggs and had a decent breakfast this morning. I got downstairs to the editing desk about, I don't know, 6:20 or so. And darn if I didn't stay there for 4 solid hours working on video edits this morning. And then I had to break out and run to Gainesville. That's about an hour. Spent a couple, 3 hours in Gainesville and drove back. And then got all befuddled here trying to get this thing set up. Dadgummit. Yeah, just always something going on, you know? And finally ate the last batch of the collard greens and black eyed peas. That's been a week. Woo. I'm glad to see them things gone. It was good on the grocery bill this week because I ate so many of them, but I don't know how it affects y'all's digestive system, but sometimes it gives mine quite a bit of fits. Anyway, that's the way she shook out. Anyway, this cold weather and you're out there. Another thing is sweat. That gets dangerous. I noticed that the other day. Couple different instances. The other morning, I got up and went to go for a walk, and it was about a 2.5 mile route that I walked, and it didn't feel too bad. And I said, you know what? I'd rather be a little warm than a little hot. All I had on it was a shirt like this, old heavy flannel, and a fleece jacket, and I put a toboggan on. Of course, bald up here, a lot of heat gets out. And I got about halfway through it, and I could feel myself warming up real good. But I never got hot. I just stayed pretty comfortable. And when I got back to the truck and I peeled that toboggan off, that thing was wet. And if you think about that, if that toboggan was to stay wet, and if I were, excuse me, and you know how it is, just before daylight, it gets cold. It feels like it drops 5 degrees sometimes. And if you think about it, if the way that toboggan was wet, if I'd twisted my ankle and couldn't walk, and that toboggan started evaporating that water from the sweat, I could have been in the hypothermic danger zone. So monitor, when you're out there, monitor. Have your layers on and strip them off. If you feel the least bit warm, strip them off and keep a good working temperature. And then if you stop, you can start putting layers back on. But please, let's be careful out there, especially with these darn days where you can wake up and be a beautiful morning in the 40s or 50s. By lunchtime, the wind picks up, and by dinner time, it's 30. Those are dangerous times, so make sure you're prepared. Carry the basics, so a dry layer, wind protection. That's one thing I always have. It's a shell. It's just a shell. Very rarely, except maybe in the late spring or maybe early fall, I'll wear it by itself if I'm getting into some rain. But other than that, I have it over the top of a fleece jacket. And that thing, that combination, I've seen it. It's held me well down into the 20s, mid to lower 20s. It holds me well. The key was always the head protection. So that shell cuts the wind, and wind, that'll pull your body temperature down. It speeds evaporation and can cause some drastic dips in temperature, your body temperature. So please keep that kind of stuff in your head, in your mind when you go out. A headlamp, I don't do that really. I'm in the daylight. Now, I've always got my phone. It's got a little old camera on it, so I don't guess I really worry about that too much. But I'm not out there hunting either. I'm out there walking. I do have 2 or 3 headlamps that I keep in the truck. Being in the construction business, every now and then I have to strap one on the hard hat and do a little something or another. And make sure your phone is charged. I always keep the phone on an inside jacket or something so it's pretty close to the body, because that cold will zap your battery. So just some hints out there. Send me a chat and let me know what your hints are and how you stay warm out there when you're in the field and it's in the 30s or the 20s or upper 30s or maybe even in the 40s. Let me know how you keep your body temperature regulated. The old Appalachian wisdom still holds. If you're old, If you're cold, tired, or rushing, you're already behind. All right, speaking of weather, it looks like Rabun County is setting into classic mountain winters. Cold nights, short warm spells, and I haven't seen any snow yet this year, have we? Yes, we have. We had some snow back before Thanksgiving, just a dusting up here at 2200, and that was enough to that was enough for me. I seen all the snow I need to see this year. It's not crisis weather, but it's pay attention weather, and we've talked about some of that along the way this evening. You know, one of the things you need to do is keep your tires ready, and I mentioned it in another broadcast. And I got the other morning, it was 22, 23 degrees, and I got going down the road, and one of my tire sensors went off, said low air, said it was 28. I said, all right. I wasn't too concerned about it. I normally keep them up, but I know that how cold air affects the tire. And so I finished what I was doing. I was going for a hike, and it was colder than hell. And I was going for a hike, and I swung into the old tire shop there and walked up. I was eating some popcorn. I was hungry, boy. I done walked about 3 miles, and I was hungry. And got some fuel and old popcorn at the Ingalls gas station. I think that old popcorn was $1.25 for a big old bag of popcorn. And man, I was eating that popcorn. I got out of the tire shop, and I wasn't gonna put that popcorn down. I was going to town on that stuff. I walked in there. I said, "Man, can you help me with help me understand something?" He goes, "Yeah, man. What is it?" I said, "What is my tire temperature supposed to be at on that pile back out there I'm driving?" And I told him what kind of tire. He says, "Come on, let's go." Look, we walked out there, and he opened up the door and shined his flashlight on the rail there, and it said how much the tire pressure would be. And I said, "Is that for all kinds of tires? Because it's a different size tire." He goes, "Yeah." I said, "Well, damn, you done educated me." He says, "That's what I'm here for, man. That's what I'm here for." So I came home at 31 pounds, and that tire thing went off at 28. And I checked it with my gauge. It was pretty darn close. I was amazed. And no tire sensors were as accurate as they are. So I spent some time aired everything up to the same. You know, I was in the trucking business a long time, and the number one cause of tire failure is low air pressure. Think about that. Number one cause of bad tire wear is overinflation. So I'm real particular about the, I don't ever wash that old pile out there in the yard, but by golly, when it's due an oil change, it gets oil change. And every time I get the oil change, it gets a tire rotation. And I always keep a good check on the brakes. And I've had a sensor go on it that and it was my fault too. That evaporative fuel thing, it popped up and glowed, and I got to think, I replaced it. It wasn't that expensive. Wasn't even that hard. I bought the part, and I knew how to change it, and I went up there to the the oil change place. I said, "Hey man, can you help me do something?" He said, "What's that?" I said, "Will you replace this part? It's right here. It's 2 bolts, man. If you get up there and do it." I said, "I'm just too fat and lazy to do." He said, "Sure, come on." He got back there and did it, and he didn't want no money. I said, "Ain't no man ever going to work for me without me giving him something for his effort." But we settled out for the price of lunch, or a good lunch, I should say. But and then that one started acting up. I said, "What in the heck?" And then I remembered that I overfueled that thing one time, and it had a lot of got in there, got fuel down that line. It was probably blocking that line off. And I went to the parts store and got to querying. The old boy behind there, he says, "Hey man, use some of this old fuel treatment, run a couple things through there." And that took care of it. There's a couple different things that would cause that light to come on. One of them is a vacuum leak, and one of them is that evap valve. And it's popped on a time or two since then, but I'll just drive and it'll eventually go out. I don't know whether I may be developing some kind of vacuum leak, but hell, that old truck's got 234,000 miles on it. That's fine and dandy. I'd like to get about 500,000 on it, if you know what I mean. I was whining about the insurance the other day and went in up there at the old State Farm house, and I said, "What?" They had some forms I had to sign. They was doing some monkery, some monkeying around with policies and stuff like that, and they put the vehicles I drive into a different policy. I don't know if it was any worse or any better. And I said, "Hey, can you do me a loss run?" She looked at me like I had a third eye. I said, "Yeah, how far back can you go to tell me how many losses or claims I've had?" She said, "I can go back as long as you've been here." I said, "Good, I've been here 30 years. I said, show me what my claims are." And she went back, she says, "1. I said, "Really, how much was it?" She goes, $235 for a tow. I said, "Oh, that's when the old wife's Subaru broke down." And I was thinking, here I am paying $2,000 a year for over 30 years. That's $60,000 I paid you. And I'm in the mutual company. I ain't got a check yet. I said, "Could you print me out my schedule of losses and stuff like that?" I said, I need to look around." And she looked at my premium. She said, "Man, you ought to be happy. You ain't paying but $1,000 every 6 months, $2,000 a year for full coverage." I don't know if that's true or not. I'm going to shop. I said, "I don't know if that's good or bad, but I'm going to shop around. I've been with y'all so long, you can probably tell me anything. I might be out and believe it." And then I said, "By the way, let's do that loss run on my homeowner's insurance." And I went, man, them jack wagons, the county will come through and do an assessment on your property. And I wagged my tongue about that not long ago when county taxes go up 50% in 1 year. And part of that was taxes on the house, and the county goes up on the taxes on your house. Well, here comes the insurance company say, "Hey, I want a piece of that pie too." So, well, we got to keep up with the replacement value on it. I guess so. The county tells you this. I said, "Are my county commissioners on your payroll?" I don't know, but sure makes me think about it. Look at that. It is 6:47, and we still in the darn cold weather thing, and a blanket in the truck. Years ago, I used to smoke them old Marlboro cigarettes, and I collected them old label things and barcode, whatever it was, some kind of coupon on the side of the pack. Sent it in, got me a wool blanket, black and white, a red and white wool blanket. And then I quit smoking, anyway, it's a real nice blanket. And I keep that thing in my truck. There's been plenty of times where I've been out in the woods and I got cold, and I was thankful I had that darn thing, especially at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning when the temperatures got down. So take that advice and keep some kind of blanket in your pickup truck or your car. It don't take up much room. Fold it up, put it under the seat. If I remember my survival information well enough, when it gets cold, if the heater in your car quits working, that son of a gun acts like a refrigerator. It'll freeze you to death. So make sure you keep a blanket Make sure you keep a blanket in your car and water. I talked about that. I keep a box of, here, I'll show you. This right here is a liter? Is that a liter? Yeah, I think that's a liter. I got 6 of these in a cardboard box. I've had that damn old cardboard box for 5 years, 5 or 6, 7, 8 years, and I've got it taped up with duct tape. It'll hold together, and I'll get down to one full one in the truck, and I'll bring them in and fill them. As a matter of fact, I got 6 of them. I got one that sits in the console and a full box of 6 behind the seat there. And keep some water. You ain't got to keep 6. It's just that I drove back and forth to Atlanta, and I'm a cheapskate, and I don't like drinking all that soda and stuff. And if I drink too much coffee, then I pee to bed. So I just keep bottles of water, and it's well water. I'm confident enough to drink it. Looks clear. I don't see it too foggy. I don't see no tadpole swimming in it. And I'm sitting here working, and I finish the coffee, and if I get thirsty, I keep it right here by my desk, and I drink water. Anyway, keep water in your vehicle too. God, dog, time's getting away. Winter don't surprise those who are prepared. Foxfire reminds us, Foxfire community. Yeah, they remind us that winter isn't or was not downtime. It was a season for tool repair, which reminds me, I got all my tools, shovels and hoes and rakes and everything laying or standing up there in the corner of the garage. I got to mop them down with some linseed oil so it can get settled in before the planting season gets here. It's also a time for putting meat in the freezer, time for curing meat. And it's also time for storytelling. And that's kind of what I've been doing here all evening, is telling her, crazy things that I do or have done or will do. And it teaches you to learn patience. You can't get out there, and you got to get out and do some things like get firewood and maybe get some meat on the table, or work and get some money to provide for your family. But the wintertime, it sharpens your judgment. People who rushed paid for it. You get to rushing, you forget to think. People who planned survived. And that lesson still belongs to these mountains. All right, we got Rabun County 2026. Looks like we got some new leaders. I saw a thing in the paper about a couple different commissioners, and I've been meaning to look into that to see who my commissioner is and see where he lives, or he or she lives, and see if they got their road paved. I need to look at the old commissioners now. That's why we had a big change. Yeah. Hey man, hey, how did you get your road paved? There's one road up here. I'm not gonna call it that. That's a road to nowhere. It's a circle. It got a brand new blacktop. I'm like, okay. That makes me wonder who lives up there. I thought it might have been a DOT commissioner or something. A DOT upper echelon. He lived up here, had a place when they was doing some road work. Community organizations continue quiet, steady work. Did I tell you I'm going to do it? Women Worth Recovery prepares to open later this winter. Schools, volunteers, and first responders remain the backbone of daily life. A new year doesn't create character, it reveals it. And I just did a video on that. It'll be going out on tomorrow, about lunchtime. I think. What did I? No, I did that last week. Judging character. You can't judge nobody's character if you ain't got your own character in place. That's pretty serious business in my mind. And the more you develop your character, here's the truth. The more your character is developed, the less likely you are to judge anybody else's character. It's just the way it goes, boys and girls. I don't know why. It's a magical thing about the universe. Anyway, Humor Corner. You know it's winter and raving when the dog won't go outside, but still judges you for staying in. Late season deer hunting is just walking uphill quietly with optimism. Brother, ain't that the truth? I got one walk I go on. I swear that thing is uphill both ways. You know, I'm a heavy fella, man. You know, the doctor says, hey, you need to exercise and lose weight. And I said, well, I got you, man. I got you. And they tell me I'm in relatively good health, but god dang, man, sometimes I don't feel like it. It about cripples me to go on them long walks. But anyway, it's I'm doing it with optimism. I go on them long walks 3 days a week out of optimism. Winter teaches patience because everything worth doing takes longer. That's the darn truth. It's hard to get. It just seems to take longer. Let's see. Tonight, let's tip our hats to you first responders working the holidays and these cold nights. Man, I appreciate y'all being out there, and the teachers starting the new semester. That old grandboy of mine was here the other day, and I'm like, whoa. Could you imagine having a dang room full of them old rugrats running around causing trouble? You know they hard to control. They are all about the energy, man. And the volunteers who never clock out. I was in Gainesville today, and it was a parking lot, big old hospital thing. And oh boy, they got people who ride around in golf carts and pick up people, and because they got to park so daggone far away. They got golf carts that go around, one of them 6-seaters or 8-seaters, and old Jim, he's a volunteer. And I said, I was lost. I didn't know where the hell I was going. I was looking for somebody. And he says, go over there at about the third level on, they got them green, blue, or brown or something like that. And he told me a color. And he says, if you just park in one of them things, and if you see one that says physician parking, just ignore it. I said, okay, what's your name again? Jim? Jim told me to ignore it. And I got to traveling around that thing, couldn't find a place, and ran across him again. He says, you give up yet? I said, now he's an older fella, probably a year or two older than me, probably 4 or 5, 10 years older than me. And he says, you give up? I said, man, people you are my age, we don't give up. We just keep plugging along till we get what we need to get. And he goes, you're right about that. Don't ever quit. And I said, I ain't quitting. And I finally found a place, got to where I needed to go. Anyway, he's a volunteer out there riding around. It was a nice day. So anyway, you know, hunters and anglers, and I'm grateful for the hunters and anglers who respect the land. I went for a walk the other day, and there was a darn old cigarette Marlboro box laying on the ground, old plastic wrapper for candy or something. I said, dadgummit. We went through this last year. People come up here and visit with us and leave a trash. Boy, I ain't got no respect. I'm going to get onto that real hard next week. Anyway, we're running short of time. It's 6:57. I don't know if I've seen any viewers come by here. If you want to catch us on the rerun or anything, give me a shout out. And, let me know how things are going in your world. Send me some pictures of your prized possessions. It could be, don't send no grandchildren or nothing, but send some old pictures of your family that lived up here years ago. And then, you know, in the chat, send me some of what goal or intentions you're carrying into this new year, and what are you leaving behind, never to. Had that conversation today with somebody. They was talking about I've done, talking about their past, and I'm like, I wouldn't worry too much about the past, brother. People who love you gonna love you no matter what. Just if you're worried about it, just start worrying about what you're gonna do today and the next day and way into the future. Don't worry about all that stuff in the past. Just decide today you're gonna have a better way of life. So drop that in the comments. Welcome those photos too. Send me some pictures of those frosty mornings, the ridge lines, campfires, creeks. Send me something. Let me see what you got. And finally, it's uh-oh. Anyway, we're winding down here. Got about a minute left. Wrap up with gratitude. Let's close the way we began. We're a community of like-minded people with common interests in hunting, fishing, protecting our community, culture, families, and environment. We also come here to exchange ideas, resources, and information. Mountain strength isn't loud, it's prepared. It pays attention. It looks out for others. Thank you for sharing your evening here at the Rabun County Rag. And until next time, keep your boots dry, your fire steady, your heart grateful. And this is Bubba. Have a blessed day. Have a grateful day. Have a grateful week. And this is Bubba signing off from the mountains where the stories never freeze. And we'll see you next week.